So my question nowadays is, whom am I talking to? When I speak on these kind of subjects, for example, culture in the time of Maggie Noodles and Patanjali, whom am I speaking to? Am I speaking to the proletariat? Am I speaking to the subaltern? Am I speaking to the community of students? Am I speaking to scholars and intellectuals? Whom am I speaking to? Whom am I addressing? And increasingly, it seems clearer to me. My audience seems clearer to me. I know whom I'm talking to. The new, newish, post-liberalization middle class of India. A class that is becoming a virus, some kind of a bacteria that is out to eat the society from within. And that's the society, that's the community I want to address, that's the audience I want to address. But then the more I do that, I realize that I'm not talking about some abstract other, I'm talking about myself. I am part of that same middle class, I'm located very much within it. And whatever negative I'm seeing out there, if I put a mirror to myself, I'll see that in myself too. So it becomes very important for me to conduct this little exercise on every occasion. Every day you wake up, you read something in the paper and say, you want to look at yourself. Where are you in this? The wonderful Marxist scholar Frederick Jameson had this very interesting formulation that he pointed out that neoliberalism implies the conversion of all that is economic into the cultural, and all that is cultural into the economic. That's what neoliberalism ultimately manages to achieve, a wonderful and invisible inversion. We don't realize this has happened. It's a little sleight of hand, it's a little magic that has been done. And suddenly, things that are economic turn into cultural objects, and things that are cultural turn into economic objects. And in the last few years, we have all got sucked into this incessant din and noise, this drumbeat, and we got entrapped into this noise around culture, which overwhelms us on a day-to-day basis. No longer is there a gap. It's a day-to-day, probably even a moment-to-moment thing that's happening around us. There are multiple ways in which every day we are made aware of our religion, we are made aware of our caste, our language, our gender, our patriotism, our food, our history, our love for the cow, and even how peacocks reproduce. We are all made aware of this on a day-to-day basis. And it's serious business. Some of us might think that it's some loony fringe, it's some madcap sitting out there. And in our own middle class superiority, we may even say, oh, there's an uneducated crowd. No, none of them are uneducated. This is the middle class rediscovering itself, rediscovering its power, and rediscovering how to lob a volley every day into the court and let it score a point. It's a daily assault. And this daily assault is something that we need to figure out what it is. I don't think any formulas exist. No, how to say, mantra or recipe has been invented to address this again on a daily basis. You can address it at a general level. You can formulate a cultural theory. You can formulate cultural liberation and cultural action. But when this happens on a day-to-day basis, assaulting you almost, then there are very little resistors in our system. And often I'm finding many friends of mine slipping into that narrow zone. It's a quicksand. And despite one's intellectual preparation and alertness, suddenly the quicksand pulls you in. So culture has become this field where nationhood, a new nationalism, and a new sense of the self is getting defined. And interestingly, this is exactly where the forces of cultural nationalism wanted us to be. We didn't realize it. We thought once again that was a thing that happened in 1934 onwards in Germany. It's not going to come here. It was out there. But just today morning I woke up and I opened my eyes. Hey, cultural nationalism is standing in front of me. And I didn't realize that. I mean, I might think it was an uninvited guest, but this guest has been moving towards my home for a long, long time, at least for the last 50, 60 years. And we have not prepared the fences. We have not prepared the adequate and the necessary defenses for it. We just got taken by surprise and got absorbed in it. So, this is what they wanted, and this is what their ideologies have always been sort of preparing themselves for. We kept imagining, oh, this is not going to happen in this incredibly plural and diverse society that we are. But suddenly we realize that we're not all that plural. We are getting homogenized in the most dangerous of ways, and we still don't know how to grasp that danger. So for me, this journey is beginning somewhere around the year 1991, post-liberalization. I'm saying this through a kind of personal anecdote. There was a year I joined the Economic Times newspaper in Delhi. Economic Times is a financial paper run by the Times of India. The Times of India, as you know, is the largest selling English newspaper in the world, not just in the world. The Economic Times is the second largest selling financial daily in the world. The pink paper, it sets the economic futures for almost all of us. In 1991, when through the combined genius of Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh, they opened the doors for the neoliberal phase of Indian economy. The open doors theory. A survey was conducted by this well-known organization in Delhi called the National Council for Applied Economic Research, NCAER. The survey was to figure out what is the total number of the middle class in India. And they have definitions of who is the middle class. Middle class is someone, of course, who has a job, who has a telephone, who maybe has a vehicle and has a fridge. So this was the parameters on which the middle class was. So definitely not below the poverty line, so they have certain means. And they came up with an astounding figure. The figure was 236 million people constitute the Indian middle class. So in 1991, the population of India must have been about 900 million. So it's almost 1/3 of India was the middle class. And this was carried in the Economic Times, the front page banner headline, thick headlines. This was the age before the internet, the age before mobile phones and social media and all that. Nevertheless, the word spread. India's most important financial daily has described the number of the middle class in India to 236 million, which at that time was probably equal to the entire population of the United States of America. by definition, a middle class is a purchasing class, a class that can buy. Across the world, corporates and multinationals, you could see them visually drooling and salivating. And they made a rush. Within 6 months, every one of them was in debt. It began with the cosmetic multinationals, and then followed by the automation and the consumer goods, the domestic consumer goods industry and so on. In Tamil Nadu, Jayalalitha had just come to power, announced that I want to make Tamil Nadu the next Detroit of India. So all the car manufacturing companies came there, whether it was Ford or Hyundai or Mercedes. And within no time, all these MNCs were all over this subcontinent. Now, when they come in with their manufactured goods, they come in with another thing which creates a boom time for the media. And that is this wonderful thing called advertising. Overnight, advertisement revenues for the papers shot up. Of course, that's just the beginnings of the, let's say, television boom. So she was just going into setting up Asia and all that. And much of the ad packet was going to the print media. And both Times and Economic Times started taking what are called half-page ads. Today you will sneeze at half-page ad. What is it? It's nothing, you know. You need 2, 3, 4 wraparound ads to make it look really, wonderful. But half-page ad was a big thing, and I think the going rate was around 40 to 50 lakhs for that space. It's like selling real estate. It's a space being sold. And slowly, the first ones to rush in, as I said, were the cosmetic multinationals. And this included Max Factor and Lakme and all this L'Oreal, etc., etc. And they would put these ads, but then they would find that this advertisement that they created with great ingenuity, with some of the best, within quotation, creative minds of the country, who were copywriters, who were photographers, who were designers, and they're paying them lots of money and they're taking 3-4 months for creating that ad, which is advertising the good life. You use that particular snow and powder and whatever that Max Factor is giving you, and you're a beautiful person. And you begin to be, it's done so seductively that, yeah, I'm a beautiful person and I want to buy this. But just above that, just above the fold, the headlines will say, 40 farmers commit suicide. Or communal clash in so and so place. What's his name? The great failed monarch, L.K. Advani's Rath Yatra was still moving towards Ayodhya at that point. In the wake of its movement, communal clashes galore when it started from Somnath and moved towards Ayodhya, littered the path with communal clashes. We don't remember it today. We don't even talk about it. It's become a saint. He's a holy man who sits quiet and doesn't shows his contempt or disagreement with Modi by just keeping quiet. In fact, just 5 or 6 days ago, the fabulous talk by the Hindi television anchor of NDTV, Ravish Kumar, who analyzed Advani ka maun. What is the meaning of Advani's silence? What is it supposed to teach the nation? It's been translated and published in this online portal called The Wire. I think you should read that. A fabulous dissection of what's happening in the Indian context. Anyway, so the entire media what do you call it, into the advertisers' intrusion into the media, and the clash with reality. What the advertisers were saying was a wonderful, illusory world where everybody is beautiful, but in reality, the world was different. I know for a fact that a group of the topmost advertisers in Delhi came to the Times of India building, had a meeting with the proprietors and the managers and some of the editors present, and made this point that if we are giving you 30, 40, 50 lakhs a day to put this ad in there, it is not because we want our advertisement neutralized by all this negative news on top. If you have some sad story to tell, take it inside. Fourth page, fifth page, bury it somewhere. We want good stories, shining stories on the front page. And guess what? The media did it. So that the collusion of the media, the corporatization of the media began somewhere around that time also, where they became collaborators in this project of manufacturing durable India, which in reality doesn't exist. In fact, in Times of India, there was a whole mantra. I was there for a few more years. The mantra was something like this, that, and we would be told, managers would come and give lessons to editors. And some of the biggest names in the Indian media were all editors in Times of India, Economic Times those days. The lesson would be, a newspaper should be like a teddy bear. It should be cuddly. You should be able to take it to bed with you. It should not break you. So these were all the new mantras that were invented. And since Times of India was the market leader, all the other media houses followed, and there was a whole procession of ideals in the media tumbling. And Sashi is now, of course, having a hard time in the Asian College of Journalism to reverse that. We look at some very, very idealistic students, and the entire course curriculum in the college is about reversing this trend. But then they go into the corporate media and they get totally neutralized over most of them. Some do fight brave battles, but this is a story of the media. Anyway, when the NCAR did this and all this influx happened, within the group of journalists, a certain group of journalists, there was a discomfort about this. Can there be 236 million people who are middle class in India? So, through some pressure, the Times of India was in fact pressurized to invite the what is that organization called? The Indian Economic School in Delhi, started by B.B.R. Rao, to do a proper survey and tell us how many middle class there are. And they took about 4 months, and they came with this result that actually the middle class is only 130 million. So this again sounded improbable, and then the group of economists working with Economic Times, and some of us included, we went into a survey of own and finally came to the figure that the total number of the middle class in India cannot be more than 38 million. And this was way back in 1991. So the entire consumer good industry, this whole advertising bubble that was there, the whole good life thing was there, was essentially to seduce 38 million people. It's a big number, it's a big market. But that was the quantum then. But 25, 26, 27 years down the line, that picture has changed. That picture has changed dramatically. We have today a good 300 plus million people in that middle class bracket. It includes all of us. But those who are not in that bracket, the 800 million people who are not in that bracket, their condition has worsened even before, much more than it was earlier. And that is the invisible story of India at the moment. We don't talk about that. That's what Raji was saying, for example, that Chinta Ravi could go to those communities. He could reach out to them. He could see them. He could see them with their eyes. I'm saying the Kanchana Chinta story of Arvindam that when he wanted to cast them, it was Ravi who suggested the Ramachenchu tribes in Andhra Pradesh. They claim a descent from the Ishwaku clan. They actually claim a descent from the Ishwaku clan. So, quite possibly, Rama was not born in Ayodhya, he was born in Andhra Pradesh somewhere. And B, they were proficient in archery. And it was Ravi who told Arvind that, hey, here is your caste, here is the community that you want to work with. They are the original Rama clan, etc. So, you need to be traveling to see this and to encounter these communities, but not everybody is able to do that today. Today, the media, for example, does not focus on all this. Once again, the very famous story by P. Sainath, which came as a front page in the Frontline magazine way back in the year 2000, where he described the Lakme Fashion Week, 1 week of the Lakme Fashion Week in Bombay. And this was only Sainath can do this kind of data mining. He did a word count of all the number of words or the number of column centimeters that were used to cover the Lakme Fashion Week in the Indian media, and came with some astounding statistic of enough number of square centimeters to run around the globe twice or some such thing. And exactly during that week, 42 farmers committed suicide just 100 kilometers away from Bombay, near Kolhapur. And precisely 3 paragraphs. 868 reporters reported the Lakme Fashion Week. Just 1 reporter went to this Kolhapur village. So that was a turn of the media. The media has turned away, and with the media turning away, the middle class of India that is so completely yoked to this media, we can't do without our morning papers and our morning television channels. We are also, in one sense, converted into a nation of blind middle class people. It's a blindness, a complete blindness, and the fact that we don't even need to think about it. It's taken for granted that what the media tells us is what we want to know. And it's all country, it's comfortable, we can go to bed with it, etc. etc. Uncomfortable, no, don't do it. So this is a paradigm that has now taken over, and it's a very difficult, how do you say, a difficult task to pull oneself out of it. It's you're stuck in it. It's once again like what Michel Foucault used to say, that hegemonic ideology has seeped into all of us like a capillary system. It's a capillary. Through our pores, every single invisible pore in our skin, hegemonic ideology has been pulled in, it has seeped in. It's like a kadumanga curry, you just pull it in. And the situation has become such that if you think that you are uncomfortable with it and you want to fight it and you want to battle it, the rousing call for that Shashi gave earlier, what will you need to do? It's not enough to sloganeer. It's not enough to say, for example, all of us came out on the street under the banner of "Not in my name." But in Chennai, some 300, 400 people, is that going to terrorize someone who's already a terrorist? No, it won't terrorize them. In Delhi, there were more, 3,000 people. Will it make them unhappy? No, it will not, because they just have to wave a Bhagwa Jhanda, and there will be 30,000 or 300,000 people. So, what are we doing wrong? And Foucault, in his characteristic way said, every day when you wake up, before you do anything else, pause, sit for a minute and imagine what tyranny, what infamy, what oppression am I going to support today? And then work the whole day against it. Which means work against yourself the whole day. Is that possible? It's not part of a middle class imagination to work against. You will love yourself. The middle class loves itself. How can it fight against itself? Average a comfortable position. Why should I in any way sacrifice that? So this is the critical moment for us where we in fact have become our own enemies and the freedom that we seek. I just open out before you this one page that appeared in a Hindu supplement some months ago. It's a full page. It's advertising something called the Big Bazaar and Maha Savings and all that. And the entire page is decorated with the brand names of products that are available in this Big Bazaar. There are about 250 brand names on this. Some are big names, some are small names, but there are about 250 brand names. Now I could just look at this and create a story. I wake up in the morning and I brush my teeth with Colgate. Then I wash my face with Dove soap. Then I watch the news on Samsung. In my bathroom there is an automobile that is hanging. And so it goes. I drink my Bournvita, Horlicks. It's just, you are a prisoner and trapped in a world of brands. And the brands have really imprisoned all of us. And this one page is a story of all our lives. We can't do without this anymore. This is our life. And in this kind of a context, the struggle becomes that much more. Ideologically, I am for a revolutionary change. But can I change this? Very tough. It means change in lifestyle. At the height of the national movement, Mahatma Gandhi had this holistic way of talking and thinking. So he had invented this 8 Ers for words beginning with 8 Ers for national liberation. So this included ahimsa, asmita, asprushyata nivaran, astheya, etc., etc. One interesting word that he propagated quite a lot was called aswada, which means say no to alien taste. Which amongst us will say no to Maggie Noodles? It's the quickest nutrition you can get, 2 minutes, and that's all the time we have. And it's anyway almost ready made. And I'm saying this in a kind of a facetious way, but I think I'm also a victim of it. Am I like Gandhi, rejecting all this and going and living in ashram? No, of course not. I'm absolutely a part of all this. So this is a very tricky situation where often we are fighting against, like Don Quixote, an invisible enemy. There's a windmill that he thinks is a giant and a dragon and he's fighting against it, but it's only a windmill. The real enemy is somewhere else, but we have been made to look somewhere else. And this is a problem that we need to work with. And once upon a time we could say, oh, this was the brands are multinationals, they come from abroad, they're within quotation foreign and so on. But today we have our own homegrown multinational giants. You have Patanjali, which everybody's adapting in a great sweep and wave of patriotism. Everybody's saying, now we'll give up those other products, but we'll go to our own products. But this slavery to brands is something that we are still not able to move out of, and there is a... So, I mean, the question can be asked, what is the problem with the brands? One can do a little survey in this room, for example. How many of you have come here, let's say, without brushing your teeth this morning? Is there anybody who has not brushed their teeth? Wonderful, everybody has brushed their teeth. Very obedient and true patriotic citizens of this country. Okay, how many of you belong to the Colgate family here? How many of you use Colgate? Only one. There must be more. And how many of you work or are in love with Pepsodent? Remember, they're two separate families. They are like Romeo and Juliet, you know, the fighting families. So they're two separate things. And of course, there will be enough number of environmentalists or true nationalists who probably go to Vikko Vajradanti or Dad. But anyway, that's all part of this. Now, I remember those early days when I used to come to Thrissur, to my Tarwad during my vacation time. And from the time I know I was brushing my teeth, it was with Mukkeri. I'm talking about the 1950s. There was no toothpaste and toothbrush then. So that little sawdust burnt, merged with rock salt, and sometimes some raw mango leaves added. My grandmother was a genius in all this. She used to create this, and all of us used to use Mukkeri. And like I said, I used to live in North India with my parents, and whenever we went back from the holidays, we would carry big dabbas full of Mukkeri, which would last for the next 1 year, and so on. It was much later that I must have been about 7 or 8 probably by the time I first started using a toothbrush. And now, of course, that memory is gone. The idea of Mukkeri is all chichi. How can you do that? It's all very primitive and barbaric. And you must go to Colgate and Pepsodent and so on. Now, the question is this: what is wrong with it? What is wrong with shifting like this and going to, say, a toothpaste? Both Colgate and Palmolive today represent 80 billion plus MNCs. They are selling you calcium carbonate with some aromation and some mint flavor in it, which is the cheapest possible thing as raw material. And through that, they're producing this kind of a profit. It's a global product, everybody uses it. A good 30-35% of the globe, I'm sure, uses Colgate, and another 30-35% certainly uses Palmolive. And they generate this kind of profits, 80 billion plus. Okay, good luck, wonderful, congratulations, you make your profit. What's wrong with that? The question we need to ask is, what do you do with your profit? What do you do with that 80 billion? And then the story begins to change. All these Johnnies invest their surpluses in the armament business. Mostly American armament business. The little froth that I create in my mouth every morning leads to certain kinds of horrible arms being made, which are then sold back to us. Just now, those two guys with 56-inch chests were hugging each other. And the reason for the hug was because multi-billion arms deal has been signed. Otherwise, there would be no hug. So too in Israel. Now, if my personal habit, probably also a private habit, but it's also a social habit. If I don't do it, I'll be ostracized. I'm sure if I admitted that I haven't brushed my teeth today, all of you would stand up and walk out, saying, what a dirty fellow. But this personal habit is being milked by corporations, by states, by all kinds of vested interests to create something very different. And therefore it becomes high time that I begin to examine what my location of. Does it mean I should stop brushing my teeth? Probably not. But I must at least start getting aware that this is an entire setup. And this setup is possible because of a particular kind of notion of culture that has emerged amidst us. Culture has become a very strange glue. It's like a adhesive, it's like Fevicol. It is both binding people and separating people. The binding happens for profit. The separation happens for segregating the market. And in this space, what does then a person who sits through 2-3 hours of a meeting in memorial of someone like Chinta, Ravi, and all of us who think certainly not like the way state thinks, and certainly not the way like the communalists think, and certainly not like the way the oppressive classes think, what would be our opening here? Are there any spaces for redemption? I mean, one can only use words and probably bring examples, but sometimes words are important. Paul said earlier, the resonance of the word has a great effect. It's like a big bell metal bell that is ringing, and it keeps ringing for a long time. I think we need to reimagine what insurrection means. We need to have a process of a more radical insurrection of imagination. An imagination that has already been captured by the brands, by the corporates, by the media, and all been flattened out. We need to be able to step out of it through a different, more active insurrection of the imagination. And for that, one obviously needs to be able to find these communities that in the last probably 20 years one has seen frittering away. One has seen them just floating away into a kind of atomized state. And getting this together becomes one of the most important tasks today for anyone who is even imagining change. Otherwise, it seems like a surface call. You need to be able to go deep into oneself, examine what one is doing. As there were some thinkers in the 1970s and early 1980s who used to propose this. I remember people like Ivan Illich, who came from a left imaginary, but then found that the left imaginary was getting a little frozen with protest marches and flag waving and fist and all that. And they said, but this has been going on for 70 years. How do we change this? And bring about a bigger effect and a deeper effect in people. And Ivan Illich, for example, in his last year of his life, lived in Germany. He was one of the most active spokesmen of the Green Movement, and probably the earliest prognosticators of the climate change idea. And he virtually died crying out for lifestyle change. Now, whom do you tell this to in a context like Europe or America? Whose lifestyle are you addressing? Obviously, that lifestyle of the middle class and the upper middle class and the elite. The others don't have a lifestyle, they just have a life. But this lifestyle, it was very clear even then, I'm talking about the mid-1980s, it was very clear even then that the call of someone like Illich was on deaf ears, because I'm willing to do everything in my life, but I will not change my lifestyle. I will finish this talk and definitely go down and search for a Maggie Noodle bite. Because that's very, why should I change my life? I'm talking about changing society, I'm not talking about changing myself. And this is the problem I think that we got stuck in. And I still believe there is a lot of strength and a lot of possibility and a lot of future in what we broadly call the left movement today. I believe there is a huge community of people out there who are in that space. The question is, how do we reach them? How does a meeting like this, instead of being 200 people, become 2,000, 20,000, 200,000? Of course, the cameras will do that, the YouTube will do that, etc., etc. But there's nothing like the excitement of bodies coming together. That peachy circus and Madan, I keep remembering. That sheer excitement of being in contact, being in proximity with people who thought in a particular way, who in every presentation of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, could turn your head, could make you rethink. And we need that. We need that excess, if you want, of insurrectionary imagination. And I'm just hoping that through these kind of sessions and these kind of meetings and more and more of such, we get into that messy space called culture. It's a very messy space. It's a vast and messy enterprise, and it always makes you think that what do you do with a space that you just inherited it. You didn't have anything to do about it. You were born into something. You were born into a language, into a culture, into a region, into a society. You had no particular contribution to make yourself. But once you are in that, is it possible to talk back? Is it possible to speak out? Is it possible to find that space where you do not normalize it? Once again, Sashi said this earlier, that run away from the normativeness, and not just run away, but actually talk back, fight back, talk to. The idea of normalizing this उत्तर प्रदेश में रहना होगा तो योगी योगी कहना होगा. Why? Why should you normalize it? What are these mantras and why are we saying yes to it? And by we I mean a large majority of India's population. How is it happening? Is it a magic charm? Some people use this kind of terms in analysis. Modi, the myth maker. So why aren't we able to make myths? Counter myths, counter challenges, and I believe the political space has its own power, has its own mobilizational strength at moments, not necessarily just during elections, but at other times too. But the real lasting mobilizational power is in the cultural sphere, for which one has to realize that the cultural sphere has that power. It also has the possibility of negating. As my favorite philosopher Walter Benjamin would always warn us that there is no document of culture. There is no document of culture that is not also at the same time a document of barbarism. We need to remember that. We need to see how to pare down that barbarism, by which you see the barbarism in yourself, and then how to make that into a keen weapon to fight back. To fight back you must. Otherwise, somebody said in the long run we are all dead. I think we can't. But in the long run we are decultured too. And that is what we need to guard against. And I think Ravi was that kind of a personality who was able to see this. That community that he made, that he forged, that Rajivan was talking about, is an attempt for seeking that community, that you're not alone in the comfort of one flag alone. You can be under multiple flags and still be relevant, and still be important, and still be someone who's fighting that battle on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to re-emphasize this. It has to be a day-to-day basis. I can't say, today I went for my march and for the next 2 months I don't have to do a thing. This has to be a day-to-day thing, and that day-to-day engagement obviously will therefore begin with yourself. And this is something that I saw very valuable, a lesson I learned from Ravi, and I'm very grateful, very happy that I'm able to be here today. And thanks Ashi and the organizers of this meeting here, and even more glad that Chandrika and Sadanand and the family are here, and I think one should think of beginning these as new movements all over again. Thank you.